Hey, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Retro Pioneers podcast channel. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We are back with another interview, guys. We haven't had an interview in a while, but this is a special one, guys. We've got an actual business owner here, someone who is kind of ingrained in the hardware of retro culture, something you're not quite used to, but something that we here love at the Retro Pioneers podcast, something that kind of makes us nostalgic and feel like we're young again. Guys, I'm one of the hosts, Byron Jackson, joined by my co-host and producer supreme, Justin. Guys, we got an amazing guest for you today. We have got Andrew Lanners from Premier Pinball and Amusement. It's going to be a great show today. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys so much for having me on, man. I'm so excited to be on, and it's a pleasure. So appreciate it.
Yeah, we can't wait to get into all the things pinball and kind of just go over the whole story and kind of get into the business, the nitty gritty, and just have some fun with it,
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And again, thank you guys. So ready to dive into some pinball talk.
So starting off, man, what got you into pinball?
You know what? My journey, my story is a little bit different than most in the pinball industry. A lot of people grew up around it from a young age or, high school, college. For me, it was a little bit after, just kind of by coincidence. It more so happened on the entrepreneurship journey for me, whereas it was after college. I had already had some entrepreneurship experience from, high school, a little bit through college. And then by coincidence, a little bit of luck, a little bit of hard work, I guess, got into the pinball, which kind of started actually after my arcade game journey, which kind of led me into the pinball world as well. So it was about 22 years old, living at home. First started off with a big Buck Hunter arcade game and got some great advice from an older gentleman that still works with me to this day on fixing up pinballs, that kind of has been in the industry his entire life. Like, hey, I think you should take a look into this whole pinball thing. This was right about that COVID era. And ever since then, it's been good.
Good deal.
It's awesome. And so you start off with a big Buck Hunter, the shooter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Arcade game. So I had gotten one of those. I was bored living at mom and dad's, basement. And then it's like, I got nothing going on, why not get a big Buck Hunter arcade game? Got bored of that. Within a month or two, I think I doubled my money on that on Facebook or Craigslist or something like that. And you start meeting some people. I had bought a few more arcade games because of the curiosity. And then all of a sudden, again, after a few months of kind of doing that, I got some awesome advice of like, hey, pinballs are kind of the hot item right now. You should really look into that a little bit. So within a week or whatever, I had just bought a $2,000 or $3,000 machine that I had I knew nothing about, which was pretty crazy looking back. But and then from there, you kind of just start learning margins and who can kind of help you out and all the things. So
Gotcha.
A little bit of luck, a little bit of coincidence. But yeah, it's been awesome ever since that first machine.
And now that first machine and these first couple in the start out, was that pure restoration, or was that just get it and kind of resell it?
Yeah. The first, which I've definitely learned my lesson over the years, we can talk about that a little bit. It was just turn and burn on these things. I didn't know that, how key restoration is and kind of going through arcades or pinball machines from top to bottom. And I was just looking at some dollar signs, just like anybody that's new into a business, especially when you're younger, a couple $100 or $300, $400, $500 is, you'll take that any day of the week. So yeah, the first couple, I think I sold my first pinball machine without even knowing, is it in good shape? Does it even fully work or anything like that? But within a few days or whatever, it was sold. And I was like, wow, we might have something here. So definitely, we'll never forget that first one. So
yeah, man, you never forget your first love, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it come down to pinball, man, because I know you an expert. Can you lead us towards, because you don't see pinballs now these days, right? Unless you're a private owner and stuff in that nature, right? Can you explain to the viewers how you're able to go by getting the pinball and how the process of that is for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is a process, like you stated. These are machines that you kind of got to know what the heck you're doing. Otherwise, you can get burned. You can lose a lot of money. You can make the wrong decision. I'm actually writing a book on this process right now. I'm really excited to get that going, hopefully later in 2026. But like you said, it's a process. The first thing is kind of scouting out where in your house or your space is that machine going to go. You got to have the proper space, temperature wise, room wise, and outlets and things like that. Next up, in my opinion, the budget is super big. You'll see anything refurbished. I'm going to talk all the way completed and gone through and 100% working, at least here in the Midwest and Minnesota. Kind of starting that $1,500 range, and you can find things over $10,000. So, what game are you looking for? What price range kind of fits you and your family's budget is super big to kind of figure that out. Next up, there's tons of different eras. So you're going all the way back to the late 60s, are called electrical and mechanical pinball machines. And these are all the ones with the loud dinging sounds, the reels making lots of sounds, not a whole lot of bells and whistles, I guess you could say, on the machine. But in my opinion, some super cool retro, like throwback artwork and themes and things like that. So some people love those, and those are going to be on the cheaper end. Then a lot of the games that I kind of deal with, and a lot of first-time pinball buyers love those east to early thousands machines.
Yeah.
Those are called solid-state machines, and those are going to be when you have the digital displays on the pinball machine. You're starting to get some more bells and whistles, and more brands are starting to make machines and things like that.
Okay.
And then lastly, you're going to get the machines that are being made to this day right now. And those are going to be the higher end, more bells and whistles, more expensive machines. So those are going to probably be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, with all the kind of updated movie themes and shows and all that type of stuff. So really is important to find kind of that machine that fits your family or your people. Does it need to be kid friendly, family friendly, or is there going to be no kids around? That's a big thing for a lot of people, the themes and kind of the bells and whistles.
Gotcha.
Next up, I think this might be the number one thing, is buying from the right source. Okay, so there's so many different places that you can find pinball machines, whether that's still the old school Craigslist, a little bit is used, Facebook Marketplace, retail shops, or even just reputable businesses, brand new out of the box. Oftentimes, when you are buying from that local shop or a reputable business online, hopefully there's zero to minimal issues with that purchase. But when you start getting into some sticky situations, possibly, is when you are just buying from another person, whether that's a person that's had it the last 30 years and they don't really know much about the machine, or it is a person that buys and sells a little bit, but maybe they don't have an LLC, etc., and they're kind of just trying to make a quick flip on it. Really researching that game and that person or business that you're buying from, I think, is super key. Just so it's a big investment, so you're sure that this machine is the right fit for you and your family moving forward. And then lastly is kind of just planning for transport. How are you going to get that machine from spot A to spot
Yeah.
B? Right? These things are 250 plus pounds. They're awkward. They're fragile. You need to know, or you can hire a professional, whether that's the person you're buying it from or a local company, to transport this and completely set it up from A to Z. So that is kind of the knowledge that I've had in a nutshell. Obviously, some people like to dive into the basic maintenance of these machines. Some people like it, some people don't, but that would be the kind of the other step in the process as well, is kind of starting to learn, instead of every time a flipper or a light bulb goes out or a rubber needs to be changed,
Mhm.
to have someone come over, that can obviously add expenses. So
Gotcha.
everyone's a little bit different, but in a nutshell, that is, in my opinion, the biggest pieces to buying that first pinball machine, and kind of what you need to know throughout the process.
Gotcha. Now, I'm curious because, like you said, there's kind of a renaissance, I guess, that COVID kind of kickstarted. And are you
Absolutely.
seeing that renaissance on the commercial side? Because just here in even California, we've had like an actual arcade, I know, pop up the street. We have another one down the street, and there's all kinds of, I guess you call them Dave and Buster's adjacent places are popping up, more local types. Are you seeing that in Minnesota too? Are you guys getting that commercial buzz now for pinball?
Absolutely. These, we call them kind of pinball barcades or
Yeah,
pinball bars. They're everywhere throughout Minneapolis and St. Paul up here, which is awesome. Like you said, I think a lot of it kind of kick started during COVID, and now it's just off and running. It's hot. The prices of these machines are higher than they've ever been. Um, and there's more people in the pinball community than there's ever been, which is awesome. So, um, pros and cons, right? The prices are high to get in, but the community is large, which, it's a really good and fun community to be involved in. So nationwide.
and for a bar, it takes up a lot less space than a couple of pool tables. You can have twice as many pinball machines as you could, like if classic that happens to have like 4 pool tables, you can have like 12 pinball machines in there.
Yeah, I mean, like you stated, not even necessarily like barcades or
Yeah.
pinball bars, even just your local bars and restaurants, or a lot of even breweries up here in the Twin Cities. You're starting to see, oh, here's 3 to 4 pinballs. Next place you
Nice.
go to, 3 to 4 pinballs. So, like you said, they're easy to fit in a lot of these commercial spots, and you're
Yeah.
starting to see them kind of anywhere you go, whether that's bars, restaurants, local places in the community, etc. So it's fun.
Nice.
So growing up, I hate to put this out there, but growing up, I fell in love with pinball from actual video games. So I wasn't brought around the actual pinball until I got a little older, but I fell in love with Sonic Spinball.
Yeah.
And when I played that, it made me like, man, what are these mechanics? I never seen Sonic like this before. What is this? And I was introduced to pinball without even knowing. But then afterwards, I was able to actually play one, like an actual machine, and I fell in love with. I think it was the Star Wars edition one that I played
Yep.
with. The first movie one.
Star Trek,
No,
maybe?
not Star Trek, but Star Wars.
Star Wars, okay.
The first movie.
New
Yeah.
Hope.
Yeah, New Hope. Yeah, it was a New Hope version of the pinball machine, and I just fell in love with it, man. So when it come down to owning a pinball machine, is the cost of it like I get the cost of getting one, right? But it's the cost of maintaining one is also expensive.
It's a great question. A lot of people ask that, and I think it is important for anyone that does own a pinball or is looking to get into pinball machines. Oftentimes, the easiest way I can explain this to people that aren't super familiar with pinball machines is I compare these things to vehicles, right? There's a lot of moving parts. The more you use that vehicle, the more you use that pinball machine, the more those moving parts are going to get used. They're going to get worn down, etc. So, and again, I compare it to a vehicle in this aspect as well. Sometimes you'll talk to somebody that's selling or get rid of a pinball and they haven't done any service in 20 years. It's like,
Mm.
all right, that's a good run. You had a lucky vehicle, you had a lucky pinball machine. But I often say to not expect to not do anything, that you should expect some sort of maintenance moving forward, whether that's waxing the play field so the ball doesn't start to scratch the play field, replacing the rubbers, light bulbs getting burnt out, flippers may stop working throughout the process. Again, there's a lot of moving parts. Those are kind of the main ones. And yes, it is important to expect to maintenance those. B, if you're not willing to learn or you're not super handy, which not everyone is, research those local guys or businesses that can help you out. As far as the cost goes, that can range. It's going to range from your location, throughout the United States, what's going on with the game, etc. I mean, if you are going to pay somebody to come out, you can expect maybe a couple $100 minimum to do some maintenance, some basic maintenance and things like that. But a lot of people do like to dive into some of that basic stuff on their own. There's so much information out there on YouTube, on the internet, to how to replace rubbers, how to replace light bulbs and things like that. So some of those basic things just about anybody can do. But when it comes to maybe rebuilding a flipper, etc., maybe, it is important to have a local business or a local pinball guy on hand to assist if needed.
Is that something you guys are starting to generate? Is a
That's all.
catalog of people for maintenance you can provide to the customer, or do you guys have in-house people that you can send over?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Stole my question.
Yeah. That's a good question. So as you sell more and more pinball machines, your client list kind of builds up, obviously, just like anything else. So as the years go by, you do get calls of, hey, this needs work or whatever. I do have technicians that work on behalf of me that do fix these machines. Some technicians do not like to do it on hand for multiple different reasons. One, just being that oftentimes, if it's not a basic fix, you have to order some parts in or whatever that may be. So they don't want to go back out to that location a second time. So they require it to come into the shop. But I do have the ability to have some technicians that go out to the house, which obviously everybody mostly prefers just because they don't have to move the machine. It's just way easier on everybody involved. So depending on what it is, often that can be fixed on hand. But if it's something a little bit more extreme, yeah, that may need to go into the shop.
Gotcha.
Could take multiple weeks to get repaired, etc. So yeah, just all depends on the machine and what is kind of going on with it. So
Yeah, that's understandable.
So something I want to know is with your business, right? You had the mind state of, okay, well, I made this first flip with a pinball and it felt good, right? I can actually turn this into a lucrative business because for one, I have the love for it, and two, I get to aware people of what pinballs are and meet some good, genuine people when it comes down to that community, right?
yeah.
What is your mission when it come down to pursuing this down the line in life, like
Yeah.
5 years from now or 10
Yeah,
years from
I
now?
love that question. For me, it's a lot bigger than pinball, right? I didn't start out in pinball. That's kind of where I've ended up just by coincidence, luck, hard work, in my opinion. For me, it's a lot bigger. I'm a people person. I love people. I love being able to provide a service that brings joy to people of all kinds, all ages. So for me, it's again bigger than pinball. It's providing, you know, in this sense, games and a service and a product that
Yeah.
people and families can connect and spend time and enjoy each other over. So I think it's just kind of bringing that camaraderie and that joy to people all over the country, the Midwest, Minnesota here, and connecting people. And also being able to, I've done a lot of giving back over the years that I've been in this business too, just being able to give college scholarship, a small
I've
college
seen that.
scholarship away yearly and giving
Oh
back
wow.
to some nonprofits and things like that. Just yeah, keeping the youth involved, and giving back, and again, being bigger than actual pinball world, so, yeah.
No, that's real special, man. A lot of people forget that gaming is a big thing that encompasses, board games, tabletop games, digital games, pinball, pool, billiard, all these awesome things that cover into like gaming. And gaming is such a beautiful way for people to not only connect with one another, but forget about all the madness in their personal lives and the world and just have some joy, have some fun. And so, especially with these old school pinball boxes, that visceral connection to the machine, hearing the sounds, seeing the lights and the bells, that makes people, smile and laugh and have fun. Those are great experiences. So to kind of really connect with that again, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's fun to be able to, you're working with young families getting their first pinball machine all the way to, old time collectors that have been in it since, the 60s or whatever that was for them. And just being able to connect and bring that joy to so many different families and ages is super cool because it's sometimes that grandpa that wants to get their grandkids into it, or it's that dad or mom that's getting their young grade school kids introduced to pinballs. So it's cool to kind of see that live on throughout the generations.
That's what's
Most
up.
definitely, man. Most definitely, because that is something definitely that we're missing. And I know I was talking to someone about this a while back that what is needed now in these modern times is arcade places, especially here in Georgia. We don't have a lot of those. Mostly what we have is, like you mentioned before, barcades
Yeah.
and stuff of that nature. And you have to be
Of age.
18 plus to even get in there. Like, why not have something where the younger generation can be able to access and be able to enjoy these nostalgias that we grew up to? So, is that something that you see yourself down the line kind of doing far as giving back to, as in probably starting something like that in Minnesota?
Good question. Probably not as of right now, but there are some concepts like that. There's one not too far away over the border in Wisconsin that kind of does that, to where it's kind of my business concept where it's buying and selling, but everything on the floor at the arcade is for sale. So it's super cool concept. Not sure if I'll get into that or not. I think that's something down the road. I guess never say never. I never even knew that I was going to be into pinballs and arcades like I am now. So could be a possibility. I love the concept of it, but I also obviously requires staff, rent, etc. So just kind of another level up. So never know. And there's a lot of competition, a lot of places like that up here in the Midwest. We got these cold winters, man. You gotta get inside doing something fun throughout the winter. So there's a lot of good spots up here. So I've kind of found my niche in buying and selling with homeowners, but you never know. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. What's been your biggest challenge so far? What has kind of been the biggest hurdle you've had to leap over?
I think the biggest challenge with these pinball machines, I've kind of got into the industry a little bit different than a lot of people, whereas a lot of businesses will sell new in box quite a bit, whereas I've kind of started in the used market. Well, again, going back to the vehicle comparison, it's like every used vehicle you could probably pick apart that something that needs work or something that needs to be fixed. Same thing with these pinball machines, that every time, I shouldn't say every time, but 99% of the time that something comes in, it needs some sort of attention, whether it's just very basic, small, little quick cleaning, or I have a game in the shop right now that doesn't even turn on that came last week. So it's like, all right, who knows what's going on with this thing right now. But just going through these things top to bottom is super important, just so clients are happy down the road. But I think the repairs and getting them ready is one big challenge. And I want to say the other big challenge is just the transportation aspect of these, whether it's me transporting them or clients coming to grab them, everyone's situation is different. Then they got to get them into their space and things like that. So they're heavy, they're fragile. I deal with a lot of first time pinball buyers, so they're not super always familiar with what's all the details needed for these machines. So yeah, I think transportation can be tricky just because you got to somewhat know what's going on and you got to be careful and you got to know how to set it up, etc.
Okay. So, is there some awareness that you want to bring to the pinball culture of something that everyone needs to know, or someone who's looking to get involved, not far as business wise, but just getting their foot into the
Yep.
door? Is there something you want to tell everyone about
Yeah,
that?
I think there is a big message that I do want to share with people, and that's that everybody can get into pinball. It's not, I know these machines are expensive. They look a little complex and they might be a little scary to get into, but if it's a financial thing, there's machines out there that often fit, most families and groups of people, etc. So, like I said, I deal with all sorts of different people, ages, families, people from all around the United States. So, there's games, like I said, that start at $1,500, but that's after they've been gone through. So, sometimes you'll find a fixer upper out there for, if you get lucky, 500, $400 or something like that. So if you're willing to get handy and learn some things, start looking on the internet, and that may be you. That's a good way to get started and kind of get your hands dirty a little bit. But yeah, don't be afraid to dive in. There's themes and games for everybody out there. There's thousands of these machines out there. They go all the way back to the 60s and they're still being rapidly produced right now. So I think if it's something that you're interested in, you've always thought that, hey, it might be a financial burden. Well, maybe start doing a little bit of research, or even feel free to reach out to me. We'll share some information later and I can kind of coach you up a little bit on what to maybe look for in your price range. But yeah, if it's a financial thing, again, there's still games out there, but it might be a little bit different. That game might be just in a little bit rougher shape, etc. But
Mm.
it's a great way to get started.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. You said you've worked with a lot of people kind of all over the country. I'm curious. I always like to ask people this: is who's been like the most eccentric and made like kind of a wild ass?
Yeah.
It's probably somebody with a lot of money and power. What kind of
Yeah.
crazy thing do they put you through?
Man, we've seen it all when it comes to pinball machines. We're often in very nice homes, as you can probably imagine. So we see some really cool setups. We also have been in some crazy old houses. You never know what you're getting yourself into, like the dustiest, oldest basements.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even make room to get us down there. It's
Mm,
so dirty and messy. But
mm.
I think the coolest person, I'm a big sports person, so the coolest person I've ever worked with was a Minnesota Wild player,
Oh, nice.
Jared Spurgeon, who's currently their captain, which is really cool. Last spring now it was. So that was awesome. But man, you see all the situations, all the houses. I mean, yeah, you just never know what you're gonna run into. Yesterday we were in a often you see over $1 million houses, or you can go
Yeah.
back all the way to early nights houses where they have the steep steps.
Mhm.
You're ducking your heads to get it through, doorways and all sorts of stuff. So there's really I don't think we've ever been stumped. We've come close a couple times, but if they got it down into a basement, there's definitely a way to get it out.
Nice.
So one thing I want to ask, and this is something I ask myself all the time, right? And what would you tell your younger self who was just starting to get into this, the advice that you have now?
That's a great question. I think just a good message is kind of keep out the outside, messages, whatever that may be, because as a younger person coming into the community, it was a little interesting as I got in. There's a lot of people that have been in for a long, long time. So I think I was kind of that younger person that was finding a little bit of success, just kept pushing, kept surrounding myself with great people, and ended up all right. So I think it's just kind of keep pushing no matter what the situation, no matter what's being said or whatever that may be. I think just keep doing the right thing, keep treating people the right way, keep, delivering a great product and service, and everything's going to kind of work out. So,
Because I can only imagine from the time of you starting to do it, and now, like you mentioned, you're walking in these amazing houses and stuff like that in your mind, like, man, like, how did I end up getting here?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it had to be a wow factor, man. So it's
Yeah.
just
It's been a crazy ride. Even, some of my closest people, they see me going on these podcasts or they hear me writing about these books and they're like, what the heck, man? Like, I'm a former athlete and all this stuff. I was not around pinball machines, like I said, growing up and stuff like that. So it's like to be on all these podcasts and to be an expert and to be a future author coming up on pinball machines, it's like that's very crazy, very wild, but also very fortunate and blessed at the same time to, be able to do something that I enjoy and I get to connect with a lot of great people like your guys' selves
thank you. We
and
appreciate it.
awesome families and things like that.
Okay.
That's what's up. Let's get into some of the themes and the actual games themselves. What's been your favorite pinball machine just kind of younger and today? What's the
Yeah.
difference between back then and
Yep. There, like I said earlier, there's just so many themes. There's thousands of these pinball machines. So if you are a listener that has no idea about what themes and games are out there, I would highly suggest you should just start Googling stuff, and I'm sure you'll find something right up your alley pretty quickly. Me personally, like I said, I'm a big sports guy, so there's tons and tons of sports games out there. I think some of the coolest ones that I've seen and had the chance to work with and deal with and sell are these games called pitch and bats. So I'm a baseball guy. So a pitch and bat is a two-player pinball machine where one person is like the hitter and one person is the pitcher. And that person pitching can throw a fastball, curveball, or changeup. And then the hitter has got to guess what pitch, just like you're playing baseball, and hit the ball. And then you're playing a game of baseball. So those are super cool. There's a game out there, Monday Night Football, NBA Fast Break. The first ever game I had was a Frank Thomas, who is a legend from the Chicago White Sox,
yes.
called the Big Hurt, which was his nickname. That was the first game I
Yeah.
ever had, so it's kind of fitting.
I think I might have had
Like I said,
Frank
I love
Thomas's
baseball.
shoes.
Yeah, probably had Frank Thomas shoes. So I like any of those sports games. There's a lot out there, but man, there's so many, like you were talking about earlier, Star Wars, Avengers, Spider-Man, Simpsons. I mean, there's just any show, movie that's made it big. There's probably a pinball machine on it these days.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm
Nice.
curious about that two-person baseball one. Is that an end to end? It's like you're standing across from the other person? Is
No,
it a
it's
long
actually
table?
one guy's kind of on the left hand corner,
And another
and
guy on the
then the
right.
other guy's on the right hand front corner. And then the pitcher again is choosing, he's hitting a button on which pitch to pitch, and then the hitter's got to guess. So it's like you're playing baseball, you guess that it's a fastball, and the guy throws a curveball, you're going to completely whiff on the pitch. But it's pretty cool. You guys should go Google it after, and they're pretty dang popular.
I think I remember that actual one.
Okay. There's a
Coming
few
up.
different games of it, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. So
Okay,
Nice.
okay. So when it comes down to getting involved, as in, okay, well, I want to work for this guy. I want to come work for you, Mr. Lanners.
yeah.
What things do I have to do to be able to be qualified to work as a pinball maintenance?
So there's a couple different things that I get help with. One, it's transporting, like we talked about earlier. That's pretty hands-on. You got to be willing to get in some tight spots and grind out of basements and things like that, because these are heavy. You're going to be in some dirty basements and things like that, some awkward angles and stuff. That's one. I do have some great helpers that help me with the removal process. And then B, the maintenance aspect, kind of like you were talking about. I think it starts simple, just like anything else. Go back to vehicles. You're not going to do, I'm not a big car person, but you're not going to do brakes or an engine removal on your own. That's not going to be the first thing you ever do probably on a vehicle. You're probably going to start with an oil change or replacing something very small, and then kind of work your way up. So to me, it starts small. It starts by getting familiar with these machines. So yeah, let's open this thing up and clean up the play field and wax it up, or let's get some new rubbers ordered off the internet and watch some YouTube videos on how to do this and things like that, and kind of familiarize yourself just like you would with anything else before you dive way deeper, especially on these expensive machines, and kind of go from there. So I don't know if that makes sense. It's
No, it makes
really
sense.
for these maintenance guys. I mean, I've grown and kind of seen in the industry people. I've sold some guys locally their first pinball machines, and now they own their own pinball repair businesses just because they're really handy. I think I can think of 2 or 3 guys that have worked with that. I got them their first games, and they kind of worked their way up in the industry, but those are really handy people. They love pinball. They put a lot of time and effort into it, but again, it takes time. It's not something where you're just going to dive right in. You're starting small. So,
Something I kind of can imagine, right? When it come down to you being in the pinball business for as long as you have, you don't get tired of hearing that noise, like
yeah.
the classic pinball noise, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it be super loud to the point where you need headphones on and stuff.
Yeah, so those are you're talking about those old school, like from the
Yeah.
60s and all the way through the 70s. They're called electrical mechanicals. So, man, like you said, they're dinging, they're got those reels moving, there's chimes on them, and they're super loud. I don't work with as much of those as kind of the 80s through the 2000s games, but I think if those were the only games that I worked with, I would probably get pretty dang annoyed. But there's a lot of people out there that really dig those old school. They want them. They don't care what the theme is. They want them for those sounds and the nostalgia of those old games. So I think the people buying those, they really enjoy kind of that old aspect, that old school feel of like you're in an old bowling alley or you're in an old school bar or something like that. So
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of the topics we like to talk about here about gaming, anime, culture. Are you a gamer? Do you like anime?
man,
Either or?
I am not crazy into gaming, not
That's
crazy
okay.
into anime, but I dabble a little bit, very surface level. So I know you guys can hit all the aspects of the retro world, but that stuff I'm definitely not an expert on. So
All right, what about the sports games? Are there any sports games that are true to your heart?
grew up loving Madden. I think
Yeah.
any football person out there loves Madden. 2K is big amongst the kids these days. HL dabbled a little bit in the college days,
Mm.
and then loved like MLB The Show back in the day, which I know is still a big deal with the baseball people out there these days. Um, yeah, those are kind of mine. Nowadays, I don't have as much time as I'd like to game it up a little bit, but I know a lot of fans out there of those games.
So I do want to ask
Yeah.
one thing, because I
Yes.
know, even though sometimes we do run into some, well, I do run into some people that just don't play the game at all, because it's just something they wasn't doing back
Yeah.
then. But do you remember a time where you woke up one Christmas morning, man, and you was like, dang, man, Dad got it for me, Mom got it for me?
Yeah.
What was that wow factor that be like, man, Mom, Dad, thank you? Like,
Yeah. I'm probably
since we're
gonna
kind of like around Christmas.
yeah. No, I love that question. I think I'm gonna date myself slash sound a little cheesy here, but I had on my list the Wii, man. I think we
Mm.
all can attest to the Wii back in the day, the Mario Kart, the Wii Sports, playing tennis back and forth. So I remember getting the Wii back in the day, and that was just a riot. I remember even taking that thing to college with me for a little bit and playing some
Yeah.
Mario Kart on there and all the sports games on there. But I think that's the one that stands out before the PlayStation or after the PlayStations.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice.
Well, something else I'm gonna throw out there, and this is going back to pinball, right?
Yep.
Do you think pinball is more on the solo person playing it, or is good for gathering, as far as a whole bunch of people just vibing out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I see both. So I see some people where playing pinball is like their peace and quiet time. You know, whether that's they work at home, they just need to get away on lunch break and kind of just do their thing for a little bit. But I also see it where it's like we only use it when we host people on holidays or we have family friend gatherings and things like that. So I think again, that's a great thing about pinball is like it fits so many different people for different reasons and there's so many positives about it. So I think there's not an either or, it's a both. It just really depends on the person. Some people, yeah, they only play it by themselves. They had a tough day at work or whatever, they want to go down and have an adult beverage or whatever that may be. They're going to go play a little pinball for a couple hours and then go to bed. Or hey, we were busy all week, we're having some people over, this is going to be our focal point of the party here. So
Nice. Oh, excuse me. Gosh. Oh, I was going to ask you. So, with pinball these days, are you connected? I'm sure with any gaming pursuit, there's always that competitive side. There's the tournaments. There's the people who, what's that like in the pinball world? The tournaments and the competitive side. Are you linked up with that side of pinball?
yeah, that's also, you guys are asking some great questions. There, professional pinball is a thing. Pinball tournaments is a big thing. So many people do like to play competitively and for money and for fun, whatever that may be, or even kind of in the middle too. I'm connected with a lot of those people just due to me being able to. I'm connected to people that maintenance these, play, collect, etc. Just with this business, but me personally, I get to casually play and I enjoy testing all these games out and kind of learning the bells and whistles of each game. But I'm not gonna go win any money at a local tournament or a national tournament or anything like that. There's some pretty impressive people out there playing for money and in leagues and tournaments, and that's nationwide. So if you're someone that is obviously I'm up here in the Midwest, but if you are across the states, there's tournaments all around the country. So if that's something that you want to get into, there's resources online, there's Facebook groups and things that people can kind of look into to see, who's hosting what and on what dates and things. So
Is it the kind of thing where you're possibly going to start using that as a marketing tool for you'll be able to send like a person to a tournament to, have, flyers and be a vendor at the tournament, those kind of things?
I've never thought about it like that.
You
For
won't.
me, the nice thing is, yeah, the nice thing is there's always opportunities to grow and things like that. And, that may be, I would love to kind of continue to get in front of more people in different ways. So you never know what that may look like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Get a street team out there. Get some t-shirts and
Yeah.
hats at that
Get some
tournament.
merch going and
Yeah.
get someone repping the team. I'd love it.
Yeah, definitely.
So something I want to know, man. I don't know if you want to tell me this,
Yeah.
but bear with me.
Yeah.
As you been the owner of pinballs, I know you got to have some pinballs at home. So what are your pinballs at home?
Great question. Currently not in my forever home, which is all right. We'll keep building towards that someday. I will have those machines right now. I'm fortunate to at least just be able to play the games that I kind of have in stock before I sell them to some new families. But when I get into my forever home, I'll definitely be having that pitch and bat that we were talking about earlier. Man, I love that game. Yeah, I would love to have just a few games, whether that's a couple pinballs, arcades, and things like that. So just got to keep working
Yeah.
day by day here. And then I'll have a house where I can get a couple machines in for sure.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm curious about what's going on with the future of pinball. Are the big pinball manufacturers trying to put AI and make their machines all digital and touchscreen now, or what's going on with
Yeah.
the newest, hottest machines?
Yeah. I mean, the newest, hottest machines, they're expensive, man. You got to
Yeah.
have some dough to be getting these things, but they're selling. There's a huge market. I think, like we talked about earlier, it's that COVID just completely spiked what we got going on in the pinball industry, which is good. I think on the price aspect, it's a little tough. But yeah, these machines nowadays, I mean, they're fancier than they've ever been. They're nicer than they've ever been. The AI thing is crazy. I don't know much in that aspect on how that may get involved in the pinball world, but I think it's real in every industry. So I'm sure we'll see it very, very soon in the pinball world somehow. But yeah, these machines that are being produced right now are just absolutely top notch. There's a couple big pinball makers out there right now. And yeah, they're super nice. I mean, you go to any of your local bars and restaurants and those new machines within the last 5 years or 3 years are going to be in those places. So for the most part,
Does anyone make an all digital, like literally a no non-mechanical machine where it's just just pixels?
so the closest thing that I can think about or think of regarding what you're saying is a digital pinball machine. So there are digital pinball machines are out there, and I'm not in that business. I know some people like them for many different reasons. A, they're cheaper. B, you get 60 or a couple hundred, whatever that number is. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I don't deal with them a whole lot, but you get that many games all on one pinball machine. So
Ah,
it doesn't have real flippers. It doesn't have
yeah.
real ramps and things like that. It
Not a
all
huge
is
market for it.
digital, like you said, but it has the capability of playing hundreds of different pinball games on one
Wild.
machine. So those those I do know are sometimes the best fit for some families as well.
Well, something I want to know is, and I don't want to show my age, because I'm 37.
You're both younger than me,
You,
so calm down.
hey. But do you remember? I want to say it was Windows 7 that had the little pinball game attached to the. It was a pinball game that came with Windows
There's a bunch.
operating system, and it was like a. Did you play any like pinball games like besides the actual machine? Did you play it on like computers and
Computer pinball.
stuff in that? Yeah,
I
computer pinball.
remember the game you're talking about back in the day
Mm.
on the computer. I haven't played that. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Oh man, I remember playing that though as a kid though on the Dell computer or whatever back
Yeah.
in the day. But I have not played that in a long time. But um, yeah, I mean mostly it's just the normal pinball machines. But I do remember what you're talking about for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're getting close to the time. Is there anything you kind of want to let the people know about the business and where they can find you other than the
Yeah.
website and what you're doing on your YouTube channel?
And any shout outs you want to do?
Yeah, no, I appreciate anyone listening in from, whether that's Minnesota or across the United States. If obviously this is geared a little bit more towards some of those first time pinball buyers. And I'm use me as a resource. So, like I said, I'm writing a book currently. I'm hoping to put it out in 2026, just kind of for those first time pinball buyers. But in the meantime, you can visit ppamn.com. All my information, email, cell phone number, you can contact me through the website. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, guide anybody on pinball questions, or even just connect with anybody in the pinball worlds. Would love to. Always open to helping people out and meeting some new people in the communities.
Definitely.
One question that I have before we go on to other things, but is there anyone that you're willing to like you want to work with when it come down to these pinballs? Like, is there anybody in mind who you just like, I gotta work with this person?
I don't think there's anyone specific. I've been very fortunate to just work with lots and lots of like business owners, which is always awesome, like great connections, advice, and things like that. Athletes, which I kind of mentioned earlier, which is my big thing. I love working with athletes and being able to just talk to them and connect with them and things like that. So, no one particular, but always love working with athletes and business owners for sure.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
That's nice.
Good deal.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's been a blast.
But man, it's no problem.
I'm hoping that we passed on some pinball knowledge tonight. We can get, even if it's one person into the pinball world tonight, that'd be awesome. So, really appreciate you guys connecting. And yeah, would love to stay in
Look,
touch moving forward.
yeah, man, we definitely grateful for you coming on the show and telling us and giving us awareness of what it is to be able to get into the pinball game or the just the possibility of maintaining one. But these are some things that we definitely need to know, especially new upcoming pinball owners and stuff of that nature. And hey, man, you doing a wonderful thing. Your business is wonderful. I did my research on you, man. You really a good dude. And look, man, like I said before, we appreciate you for blessing our viewers with your knowledge in the culture of pinball.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, my pleasure. Always awesome connecting with people, whether that's local or across the country. I think that's the one of the coolest things of pinball is just that so many people, not in just one area, it's nationwide, it's worldwide, are in this community. So again, it's a pleasure to be on here and kind of hopefully spreading that knowledge throughout the United States tonight.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Make sure you go to the website, Premier Pinball and
Amusements.
Amusements.
Yeah,
Yes, Premier Pinball and Amusements. And think about it for your home, guys. I know we got a lot of people out there who are going to be first time home buyers. You already have a home. For me personally, I've been thinking about this during the interview. Is that get a pinball instead of a pool table? Because you're probably going to end up using it more. It's going to take up less space in the house. It can be a little more affordable. You might even have two of them.
the value, hopefully it's a good investment too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
People buying at the right time, these prices continue to climb. So instead of buying something that loses value, hopefully that thing continues to make you some money a little bit someday.
Oh yeah, most
Exactly.
definitely. That's the reason why they contact you, and
Exactly.
they get your expertise because you're gonna steer them the right way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
Byron, send us off.
Of course. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. Once again, guys, that was Andrew Lanners with Premier Pinball and Amusement. Go to the website, go to his socials, check out everything. Don't forget, put your likes and subscribe in the bottom. Give us your comments, and we'll see you guys next week with some more Four Dudes banter. Peace.
Peace.